You're still muted.
Gotta
Hey
love it.
guys, welcome to
Turn it
Rebel
off.
Rock
Hey,
Radio.
hey
This is
guys.
Blue. Welcome to the Batcave. I guess I'm
Nope.
doing the intro. It's
Welcome to
my
the
show now.
Batcave. Yeah. So Blue and I decided to do this little thing because we are
Show.
both um,
Massive Batman nerds.
massive Batman fans.
I
Um,
think I think of all of the comic book nerd stuff that you got me into, which is to say all of Marvel, all of DC, Star Wars, probably more that I can't think of off the top of my head. I'd say Batman is without a doubt the one that has stuck with me the most. Like I still like everything else, but at
yeah,
the end of the day, I love Batman.
exactly. And I'm actually getting back into Batman as far as the comics go. Um, I stopped reading them for a while, and then I read a new Batman comic that came out, and then it just kind of
Sparked interest.
sparked it again. So I was like, man, we should do something on Rebel Rock Radio that's just Batman.
Yeah.
Um, so this is what we're doing. We're doing every episode is going to be about Batman, and it's going to have a different theme. Um, Today is basically just like a pilot episode, kind of describing what we're doing, talking a
Issue
little bit.
0.
Yeah, issue zero. Um, and so this show is going to be eventually on YouTube, but we're going to start it out as
Patreon
like
Patreons are going to
early
get
access.
early access.
Yeah,
Early
patrons.
access, yeah.
Right, patrons are going to get early access, and then eventually we'll put it out on YouTube for everybody to watch, and hopefully we'll get
So
some more
yeah.
patrons out of it.
Yeah. So if you like the show and you want to get it a week or two early,
Yeah,
subscribe
well,
to the
maybe 2 weeks.
Patreon.
2 weeks is good.
2 weeks isn't bad.
Yeah,
I mean, depending on the recording process, that could mean that could be pretty decent.
right.
Um,
So time frame on this, I don't know if it's going to be every week, every 2 weeks,
uh,
or how this is going to work. It's just whenever we decide we're
feel
going to
like
do it.
it
Yeah,
when schedules align.
schedules allow. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'd be down to record whenever, to be honest.
for sure. Um, so I want to ask you because I don't remember. I'm old. Do you remember the first time that I introduced Batman to you? Or maybe,
Okay,
maybe not like the first time, but like
I've got a
not the first
few.
time, but like, do you remember the first? What was
Do
your
I
intro
remember
into Batman?
my first my entry? Okay, so I'm gonna say there were a couple of different things. First of all, being around comic books in general, you're gonna hear about Batman. So, getting into comics or comic book characters or nerdy stuff in general, you're gonna run into the Batman. Um, I do remember going to see The Dark Knight Rises in theaters. Um, but I think the one that I can fully attribute to my interest in Batman was you had a massive graphic novel collection, like absolutely extensive.
Yeah.
And I remember going in there and you'd like loan me your graphic novels and your comic books to read. And I remember reading The Long Halloween by Tim Sale
Okay. Jeff Loeb.
and
Jeff
Jeff
Loeb and
Loeb.
Tim Sale.
Tim
Yeah.
Sale is the artist. I'm sorry.
Right.
Tim Sale is the artist. My apologies.
No,
But
you're
yeah,
good.
I remember reading Batman The Long Halloween and going, damn, this is sick.
That's a good
And
story.
I think as the show progresses, we will see that Long Halloween is one of my absolute like beloved Batman comic
For
books.
sure. For sure. Um,
What about you?
I would say Long Halloween is probably one of my favorites as well, probably top five. But I mean, are you asking when I got into Batman?
Yeah, what was your entry to Batman? I don't think I know the story.
the 1960s TV show.
Batman.
Like,
Okay.
I didn't watch it in the 60s. I mean, I wasn't. I
Well,
wasn't.
yeah, you weren't there.
I remember
There's about a
being little,
decade.
like
Yeah,
in kindergarten era,
that's
and
not
I
bad.
remember watching the Batman TV series. Um,
Runs were still a thing back then.
yeah, yeah. I would say the comic books I think I got into in like the mid 80s.
So
Um,
like Nightfall era, maybe around that
I
time.
think that was later 80s. Man, now I got to look at this. When the hell did Nightfall come out?
Maybe
How do I
maybe
not
nine.
know this?
I think
Um,
maybe it might be 90s.
let's see. 1993 is when Nightfall came out.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I had already
My
been reading Batman. Um,
but yeah,
the I want to say the first one that I remember reading, but certainly I read something before this because yeah, I had to be because this one came out after Nightfall. Shit, I don't know. I don't know what my first Batman comic was.
well, you've had a few more years to
Yeah,
dwell on it than I have.
yeah. I mean, it's been a while. Um, you know what? It might have been. Let me look at the date on this one. How do I not know the dates of these?
I don't either.
Because
So
I'm old. Okay. Thank you, Wikipedia. Yeah, this is probably it.
what is it?
Probably right around. I don't think this was the first one, but probably one of the first because it's around that time frame. Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, that makes sense. That
Probably
I will
one of
say
my first. Probably one of my first.
that does make sense to me.
Yeah, that sounds about the same time period. But yeah, I was. But yeah, 1960s Batman was my entry into Batman. Um, and then, so I had been reading Batman long enough to know, long enough to have an opinion about the 1989 Batman when it came out. Like
1989. That's Keaton.
that, yeah, that's the first. Yeah, 1989 was the first Batman with Michael Keaton.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
so, so yeah, I had an opinion about that. I liked it, but I had some opinions about it.
That's
Uh,
very fair.
based on what I already knew about Batman. But yeah, I have been huge Batman fan off and on for years, man. Man, you said Long Halloween was your first, but you might be right. But I've seen maybe that was before you started reading the Tinian run of Detective Comics.
Oh, let's be. That was before Tinian. Tinian wasn't out when I first started reading comic
Okay,
books.
because I
Tinian,
remember, I seem to remember that the Tinian run of Detective Comics really boosted your love of.
yes. Okay. So that's another. That's another. So starts off Dark Knight, maybe Dark Knight Rises, or Dark Knight Rises, maybe Dark Knight in theaters. Then later I read The Long Halloween, and then yes, you're correct. I liked Batman. I liked the concept of Batman, but I wasn't like, this guy fucking rocks, man. This is
Yeah,
the best character ever. It was the Tinian run that just showed him and the extended Bat family in such a new light. And for anyone that's listening that wants to know what we're talking about, it is the DC Rebirth Detective Comics run by James Tinian the Fourth. It is a fantastic run. I will recommend it to everyone ever till the end of time. It is amazing. We
absolutely.
will be talking about it at some point. I have no doubt.
Oh, I'm
But
sure.
that is
I'm sure.
that I first read that in high school, and I read Long Halloween. I want to say in middle school. So um, Long Halloween was first, but you're right. The Tinian run is the one where I was like, this. Yeah, like that
It
one very much.
solidified your
It's
fandom.
yeah. it solidified it. I went from a Batman fan to a Batman enjoyer.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Now we mentioned Long Halloween with Jeff Loeb and Tim South. Um, Jeff Loeb specifically, if we're talking like top five Batman stories, two of his stories would be in my top five, and one of them would be Long Halloween.
Long Halloween. What's the other one?
But the first one, oh, you come on, you've got to be able to guess this.
Did Never mind. I visualized the cover. It's Hush.
It is
My
Hush.
bad.
Is,
I forgot that was Jeff. Wait. Oh man, Jeff Loeb did Hush and Long Halloween.
did
What a guy.
man?
What a range of writing.
Yeah. Hush is by far my absolute favorite Batman story arc.
For good reason. Hush
It,
is one of those big ones.
the comic, not the movie, not the animated movie. The
We
animated
don't talk about
movie,
the what animated movie? I don't
yeah,
remember there being a
I
Hush movie.
disavow that. I disavow it. It is
I
awful.
I disown it. It's being written out of my will. I'm leaving everything to my cat.
You have a cat?
Yeah, we have like multiple cats and like 2 dogs.
But yeah, Hush is by far my favorite comic.
Hush is a good one. I will say my all-time like number one favorite Batman story is very much on the basic side, but it has been and remains my favorite Batman story. And it's not Long Halloween. Long Halloween is a solid second, and I love it with all of my heart. And Tinian strong at number 3. But I think my number 1 is always going to be Nightfall.
That's a solid one. Yeah.
Nightfall is one of those comics that you read and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
That it's such a bad moment for Batman, but it's such a Marvel. Well, actually, it's DC, but it's like a really, it's a wonder of writing.
Yeah.
You read about this new character coming from Santa Prisca, this 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 what is it, Caribbean nation down on its luck, Central America. I don't know where Caribbean is, but the Central American country down on its luck, going through revolution. This child that grows up in a prison, and is forged in bloodshed, and turns his attention to Batman, and then a course of events that culminates in, of course, Batman being broken.
Yeah.
It's one of those comic books that you read it and you're like, this is what comic books should be. This is the pinnacle of Batman,
That was
because
one of those. Yeah, that was one of those events in
it was a
comic
big
books
one, like the death of
where
Superman.
what's that?
That this is the kind of like the death of Superman.
Yeah, let's see. That one, when did that one come out? That one came out. Okay, so Death of Superman was 1993.
Same
And
year.
didn't I say, yeah, Nightfall was. So, okay. So, Death of Superman was a huge, crazy event. It was,
Massive.
it was massive. But the first time, like when Nightfall first hit the stands, it was definitely one of those damn moments. Like, oh,
1993 was a good year for fucking over superheroes, I guess.
yeah. I mean, that was yeah. When Bane broke his back, it was just like, damn.
And
Damn.
and something I would also like to clarify. I don't just mean the events leading up to Batman being broken. I you cannot have that without the there. So there's 3 major collections that we owned of Nightfall.
Mhm.
You might still have them, and they break the story into thirds. The first one being Batman versus Bane, and Batman loses. The second being Azrael, John Paul Bat Valley, one of your favorite characters, if I'm not mistaken,
This is when I first learned
taking
about Azrael.
taking the mantle of the bat and using it not as Batman would.
Yeah.
And then a third one where Bruce returns and starts to train himself to take back the mantle. And I feel like I'm talking way too much about Nightfall when we fully could do an episode on it.
We will
And
eventually do an episode about
and
Nightfall.
when we do, I'm gonna be insatiable.
It's going to be, I mean, it's going to be a good episode. I want to reread it again first.
That's very fair. I might
Rereading
do.
rereading Nightfall is quite an undertaking because
Yeah.
it is a huge story.
There's like story arcs within the story arc with like Scarecrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there was like a whole thing with the Joker. It's insane.
So yeah, we'll probably. I'm sure we're going to do an episode about Nightfall. We're probably going to do an episode about Hush. Probably going to
Long
do an
Halloween.
episode about the Kenyon Run.
Long Halloween.
Long Halloween, definitely.
The Arkham games.
What's that?
The Arkham games. That's another good one.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That might have also been some of my first exposure to Batman. Let me okay. You know what? Arkham Asylum. I remember playing it with you, or like me sitting next to you playing it.
Yeah.
And I said Tinian was the one that really locked in that fandom, but that might not have been completely true. I think it was actually Arkham Knight, the third game. I think that is what gave me
before that.
No, because I remember because Arkham Knight happened before Rebirth. Rebirth was 2016, correct?
Well, I know that Arkham City came out around New 52.
Arkham Knight came out in 2015.
Okay.
But generally, I will say yes, a mixture of Arkham Knight and the Tinian run are responsible for my ravenous Batman fandom.
Yeah. So we'll probably talk about the Arkham games.
Absolutely.
Probably going to wind up talking about another one of my favorite story arcs.
Returns?
One. Batman
Year One? You know, in all my time, I've never read it.
Oh my gosh, you need to read that.
Yeah. But yeah, lots to talk about. There's a lot of ground to cover on the topic of Batman. I could definitely see this.
There are
going
podcasts out there that's all they talk about. So
yeah,
definitely something enough content for.
I do think I think it'd be cool. Something that I personally could definitely take the lead on is episodes where we talk about characters, like specifically characters, and you know, those will be shorter, but I do. There's a lot I could say about a lot of characters.
Yeah.
Like I could go on about Bane. Let me tell you.
For sure. I mean, we could do an episode about his rogues gallery.
The Bat Family.
About the Bat Family, yeah.
I mean, even the Justice League. There's a lot to go over. I mean, I've been thinking about starting Batman the Animated Series and watching through that. And that's one of those things that I'm like, if I do that, we're gonna end up talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that.
Batman Beyond. That's a whole other.
We could do Batman. We could do an episode about Batman Beyond. We could do an episode about the Sean Murphy Batman universe.
Sean Murphy. Ooh, White Knight. Ooh. Yeah. Don't get me started on White Knight. I love it. Okay.
So good.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Batman is a very. It's one of those topics that like we don't always agree on it, but one thing that I think anyone worth their salt can agree on is that Batman is a damn good character.
He is. He's very good. Now I'm about 99% sure that you have not read it, but I really suggest you, not just you, Blue, but all of you listeners
The
out
listener.
there, but I'm pretty sure you have not read yet Absolute Batman.
I've not, but I've heard. I saw the whole. I'm on a side of TikTok that's very comic heavy. So that's how I like. That's how I keep up with the news. I saw a lot of the discourse about it, and everything I learned is like, damn, this looks sick as hell.
It's so good. It is so good. It's not, if somebody, folks out there listening, if you're going into this thinking you're getting your typical run of the mill Batman story, you are going to be very disappointed because it is not your daddy's Batman.
I've heard that the Absolute Universe is DC's answer to the Ultimates universe,
Yeah, it is.
which is interesting.
So what I should do, I should buy another copy of that book and just mail it to you.
That'd be
Because it is so good. It is so good.
I'm sure I can find it online somewhere.
Probably.
That is entirely up to you. I can wait for the trade, you know.
Well, I've got like a like a foil cover edition.
Oh, that art is fantastic.
It's so good. It's so good.
Uh,
I'm not crazy about the logo, but
how he utilizes it.
But if you get to the point where you realize why that logo is the way it is when you get into the story, it makes a lot of sense.
It's sick as hell.
Yeah.
Go read it. Go.
Story. I just finished reading a story arc, trade paperback, call it what you will, that I had not previously read before.
Gotham War.
Gotham War, yeah, and it was really good.
Yeah, I have to imagine, while I'm not as well versed in what's going on in comics as I really should be,
Yeah.
I have to imagine that whoever's writing it is doing well.
It's Gotham War was several writers. It was because it took place over different titles.
Oh, was that one of that big like Inter Batman books?
So it's Chip Zdarsky wrote most of it.
Ooh, love that guy.
Yeah, and Tenny Howard wrote the well, she is writing the current run of Catwoman. So she wrote the Catwoman episodes. She wrote the Catwoman issues in that story arc. And then Matthew Rosenberg wrote
the guy that played Lex Luthor in Smallville.
Oh,
who am I thinking of?
Not Matthew Rosenberg. No, Matthew Rosenberg is a comic book writer that wrote. Oh, geez, what all has he written?
Comics, probably.
He's written a lot of DC. He's written a lot of Marvel.
Way to describe that comic author.
I mean, he's written a lot. I just can't. I mean, he's done a lot.
No, I get it.
But yeah, he wrote. I don't remember which issues of Gotham War he wrote.
But he wrote some of it.
By gum, it's really good. It's really good, and it's a fairly new story arc in the grand scheme of things. It only happened like a couple of years ago or something. But
there's a lot going on in comics, or so I hear. But lot to talk about.
Speaking of Absolute Batman, I actually wrote a review of Absolute Batman on my Substack.
Nice.
So I'll put a link to that in the show description here.
Yeah, make sure you check the description. It's always important links, like the Twitter. I'm assuming. Are you still on Twitter?
Yeah. Anyway, so we've got lots coming on the Batcave. A lot of content. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I think if you're a big
if there's not a new one, wait.
Go ahead.
If there's not a new episode, just wait.
Yeah.
We're probably already planning the next one.
Pretty much. So yeah. So thank you for listening and hope you enjoy it. And we will see you next time on the Batcave.
See you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. That's how we have to close them all out. If we're doing this, if we're doing the '60s intro, we got to do the '60s outro.
That's
See
right.
you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel, and yeah.